What is up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on the Middle Time Radio podcast with another episode of Lone Wolf with Dub. This time I have a special guest, Gojira851, joining me here today. Thank you, sir, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Also, for those watching, going forward, I think sometime soon, Mr. Gojira and I are also going to be doing a review for the new season of Devil May Cry. I just finished that last night. Had a lot of fun with that. And also, he and I did the first season last year or the year before. It's been a little while, but we did talk about it. We're big fans of the franchise and the game, so I'll be looking forward to the discussion on the new season with that. But today, we will be talking about Mortal Kombat 1995. Obviously, right now, between 2021 and this year, the new Mortal Kombat 2 came out, the reboots basically. But we're going to be talking about 1995, which really kind of started, everything in terms of the franchise from the game itself. It's a 1995 American fantasy arts, martial arts fantasy film based on the video game franchise by Ed Boon and John Tobias, a.k.a. Noob Saibot, if you go backwards with their names. I remember going to the arcade early 90s, playing Mortal Kombat. And what is your memories of the game itself in terms of when you played it and all that?
Well, my first interaction with Mortal Kombat was actually on the Genesis, the home console version. I didn't get a chance to really play the first one on in the arcade. Then I went over to a buddy's house and played it on the Super Nintendo. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's just like the arcade version." I'm like, okay, I'll just take your word for it. Then I was at a bowling alley and I saw the arcade version of it there. And there was a line of people. There was literally like 30 people in line. And I'm like, I'll go home and I'll just play it on console. Just, you guys have fun. I am not standing in that line waiting for that. Just no. But like, yeah, that was I'm what they call a console peasant. You know, I didn't have the patience to wait for the arcade to open up. So yeah.
Yeah, I can remember people when it came to arcades, you just place a quarter on the machine and you were next in line or whatever, but people would fight they stay on there. If you were winning your fight, you would stay, and people would try to go through and take you down. Mm-hmm. But that's fun to watch sometimes, just how some good people got with the game. But obviously, when it got announced that they were doing a movie, because one of the more fun attractions to Mortal Kombat was the fatalities. And so for me playing, I was always a Sub-Zero guy. What character did you like the most when you played?
Scorpion.
Of course.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Or the Genesis version. Because it was so bit crushed back then. So yeah.
Yeah, my friend, he was always a Raiden guy, so we'd always have these long-lasting battles. Mm-hmm. But obviously, when the movie came out, and really, as far as the cast, like I had known of Bridgette Wilson a little bit, her background. She played Sonya, of course. He had Lyndon Ashby, who was playing Johnny Cage. Initially, Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to play, but he was in the midst of doing Street Fighter, which I think in hindsight, he probably would have wanted to take this role. I think this one did better than Street Fighter in terms of movie theaters and all that. But I also had Cary Hiroki Tagawa, who recently passed. Awesome actor. And really, it is funny because I don't know why. I forget what movie I'd seen him in prior, but when thinking of Shang Tsung, he was the one guy I always thought of that would be great in that role. And sure enough, he's the one that would end up getting. And I guess he was the only one they considered for that role. So it makes total sense. And then, of course, if you play Mortal Kombat 11, he's actually doing the voice of Shang Tsung in that. Mm-hmm. Then we also have Robin Shou playing. Oh my God, I'm just drawing a blank. Why am I drawing a blank?
Liu Kang.
Yes, thank you. God, yep. I can't believe it. Liu Kang. So yeah, the bicycle kick guy. Lisa Soto is Katana, And then, of course, the biggest surprise, but wonderful surprise, Christopher Lambert as Raiden. He obviously money because he was the most biggest veteran coming into the movie, but according to the directors, Christopher was very laid back. He wasn't intimidated by large sets, so it seemed to rub off on the other actors a little bit that they didn't get nervous anymore. He was just relaxing to be around, I guess. So on that level, it's like he had that kind of effect on people as an actor, even though he wasn't in it that much. Which is very interesting too, because obviously after some years have passed, a lot of people were saying they were whitewashing the characters because naturally Raiden was a naturally Asian character. Mm-hmm. But I think at the time it's just you're trying to get people in the seats in the theaters, and so you were trying to go with actors that people knew. And Lambert, obviously, from doing Highlander and some of the other films back then, was somebody who could draw you in. Mm-hmm. Your first thoughts on the movie when you saw it?
My first thoughts, I was entertained. After playing the games, I was expecting it'd be a little more brutal, but I didn't really understand the whole the rating system back then with the movies. It's a PG-13 movie. What were you expecting? A hard R? As a kid, this movie came out in 1995. I was born in 85, so I was 10 years old when this movie came out. So I was expecting, people to have their heads ripped off, and people burned to a crisp, stuff like that. They can't do that. It's the rating of the movie. It's but in the game, it's okay. So I had to curb my expectations a little bit. But as far as the film, though, it was a very entertaining movie. They're very strong performances by everybody, but as far as the fatalities, I was a little bummed out that they weren't a little more brutal. But the performances by everybody, and as the way how their performances and the story was brought up was great. I was a little let down with it's funny, our two favorite characters, but we'll get to that as far as the story gets to. One character I was really worried about. Prince Goro. I was really worried about how they were going to work with him, but then I saw how he was in the film. I'm like, okay, they actually pulled it off.
Yeah.
I enjoyed what they did with him. A lot better than what they did in the sequel with a future character there. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But anyway, but yeah. But we're really
in hindsight, 2021 brought Goro back, and even though they were utilizing CGI, and he looks good, but he was in for a hot second. Whereas at least with 95, we've got more of Prince Goro in there, despite being more like a puppetry type of thing going on there. But it was really well done. So yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's a great point. And also, he almost felt like the shark from Jaws. It's he's there. He's there. And it's the music's always building up. And then you see him. It's oh, shit, what's he going to do? And it's building up more and then building up more. And it just gets to the point where all he does, he looks at Shang Tsung and says, "Is it time?" Also, I love the voice actor for Goro in the film. We'll get to the scene. But okay, I don't want to give away too much. We'll get into the movie actually when it gets to that. But and then he feels like it's a big payoff as well. Where in the future film, they kind of he comes and goes like a fart, pretty much. And yeah, he looks cool, but he comes and goes like a fart, pretty much. So okay, I just repeat myself. But anyway, but what really stole the show for me is Karihuyuki Takawa as Shang Tsung. I hate to say he was kind of typecasted back in the day as the typical bad guy, but as for Shang Tsung, he just knocks it out of the park as Shang Tsung, which all the characters in the film, not all of them, but a lot of the characters were actually based off of Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
And so was his character, which I'm glad they actually changed the look of Shang Tsung, because the main villain of that film, which as a John Carpenter fan, please don't yell at me for forgetting his name, but he actually looks more like that character in the game, but they changed him to look like Shang Tsung in the movie, and that's an awesome change that they went with. I just wanted to say that now. So yeah.
So Shang Tsung basically was somewhat of a play off of Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China. Then you had, of course, Raiden based off of Lightning, and then even so, Johnny Cage actually was based off of Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport. So they took a lot of influences when they were making the game to create their characters. But as you said, I think they did a much better job in the game when they designed Shang Tsung. And then, of course, Tagawa did it nicely in terms of how he presented it and appeared. Like, apparently, when he went to his audition, he was in a costume. I don't know what kind of costume, but he apparently went all in. And so they were just kind of like, okay, you're our guy. We don't need to look beyond you. Sorry. Everybody that came out, have a nice day. We're good. But yeah, so it's really cool where they got some of the inspiration for a lot of these characters. But as far as the movie itself, again, like you said, it doesn't have the fatalities, which, a lot of the fans as the game, kids, teenagers growing up and enjoying the game. But there is a sense of, it's got cheesiness, but it's a good cheesiness. Like, looking back, we can sit there and say, yeah, it's not gory, it's not this and that, but dude, you just have a soft spot for it because it is a fun movie. And one thing I learned just kind of researching a little bit is that initially the studio wanted to go with like a soundtrack with Janet Jackson and Van Halen and stuff like that. But the producers and director, they wanted to go more electronic. And so they went with like a smaller company, which paid off because it turned out to be one of the biggest soundtracks during that year for what they did. And it came out great. Like even now when we talk about the new films, they start playing that old theme, the electronic theme. And so we were all like, yes, that's what we're accustomed to. So kudos to the producers and director to stick with what they had in mind and not kind of just go with whatever was out in the radio world. Because I mean, I love Van Halen, but I just can't imagine that really working, in that respect, Did you get stuck?
No.
Okay. I just make sure you just froze.
No.
All right. So into the movie, basically it starts off, you get introduced to a few different characters. Johnny Cage, of course, he's doing a scene and he's fighting. At first, we don't know if it's even the movie. We just think maybe he's walking into this hangar and starts fighting, and the guy he gets ready to punch this is where you fall down. And he has this nice line by Lyndon Ashby, who I think, if I recall, had done some series with Kane, with what's his face? God damn it. Why am I always drawing blank with this? I'll come back to it. But he did a series that was well known with another actor, and he was known for a little bit of martial arts there. So despite not really being Jean-Claude Van Damme or anything, he at least did a pretty good job, I thought, especially with the type of character and arrogance that came with Johnny Cage's character at the time. You also had, again, Sonya. She's there with Jax on the docks. Of course, she's after Kano. This is a big, Kano's this big thug and this villain that she's chasing because he killed her partner. And Trevor Goddard, who portrays Kano, is a great choice. I thought I really liked Trevor Goddard. I liked him in Deep Rising. It's unfortunately he passed away at 40 some years ago, but I really enjoyed his character and his portrayal of Kano, except for I didn't really think we needed to kill him off, but I was a little disappointed in that. But you had to work in Sonya's scissor blade move there to try to get the moment, I guess.
Well, the funny thing is, that was just a transition move in the games. That wasn't really her fatality. So it's like you didn't really need to kill Kano, but it's like, okay, I guess we had to do something. Like the foliage guy needed to put in some of those sound effects somewhere. So it's like, okay, we need something.
We also, obviously get introduced to Liu Kang, and he's got this dream that he's dreaming of his younger brother who's actually killed by Shang Tsung. And of course, we see the great soul steal by Shang Tsung when he takes the soul. which kind of inspires Liu Kang to come back to the temples and tell the elders that he's going to enter into the tournament, or at least try to find Shang Tsung and get revenge. But there is this nice little moment where they're telling him, like, you can't just rush into this. It's not something you can just do. The whole realm is at the mercy of how well you do. And of course, Raiden shows up and he's like, "Oh, you guys think this dude's Raiden? Really?" Mm-hmm. So, how did you feel about Lambert's portrayal of Raiden?
Well, I just love Christopher Lambert. I thought he's an amazing actor. I love Highlander. It's a awesome film. I'm kind of hit or miss with the sequels. We can talk about that in the future. But anyway, so it's like, but they kind of portrayed him as like a Yoda-esque character. He wasn't really meant to be a fighter in this. So it's like his character worked for this movie. Now, in Annihilation, we can talk about it. It was like very odd what they did with him in Annihilation. But in this movie, it works. He's there to,
it's unfortunate because James Remar is a great actor, and I love him, like The Warriors and all that. But putting him in as Raiden again, it's like doesn't make sense. Now, as you said, at least with Lambert had this sort of like playfulness, despite being a god. Like, we knew he wasn't going to start doing all these like martial arts moves and stuff. It just wasn't really in his repertoire, but the way that he was able to carry the character made a lot more sense, and it just worked. Whereas with Remar, of course, Remar was kind of given a shit hand because that entire movie for Annihilation was trash. It was just bad. I didn't like what they did at all with any of that in there, but they were trying to capitalize off the success of this film to do that one. Then we have Katana, Talisa Soda, gorgeous, great look for Katana. But again, we didn't see a whole lot of her in this, just little things here and there. But for what she did, I thought was good. But obviously, Sonya is chasing Kano onto this ship, which is going to take these fighters to the realm to fight the tournament. And so they're kind of being, I would say, led or duped by Shang Tsung, who can shift shape into a different person. So in the case of Johnny Cage, he's like the director that's filming the movie, and he's telling, Johnny, you got to go do this tournament, man. You got to get back in the game and prove yourself, so.
He turns into his old master from when he was younger. And it's kind of funny. They actually put in a Steven Spielberg as kind of director, and they're kind of, I don't know why they did that, but they did. But yeah, it's like they were trying to get Spielberg to do a cameo, and I think that was a nod to that. But that's like that's a theme of the film. That's our cool thing about this film is it has a deeper theme to it other than just we're kung fu fighting. Our three main characters of the film all have their own separate arc as well. So we'll talk about the other two in a sec, but Johnny, it's funny you bring up Johnny now, is because Johnny is actually where Raiden actually brings it up to him. Johnny, you're afraid that you're a fake. So it's Shang Tsung actually transforms himself into the master of Johnny from when he was younger, which actually has a deeper, sinister look to it, because at the beginning of the film, he kills Chan. I forgot how to pronounce it. It kills his younger brother. And it implies that he steals his soul, and later in the film, he can actually transform it. So it means that he killed his master and actually transforms him. So it implies it's even like that dude is dead this entire time. So he actually plays off of Johnny's insecurity to actually again join this tournament. So it's just a little fun little thing, not really fun, but sinister thing for Johnny Cage to actually join the tournament, which actually proves into his downfall. But anyway, so yeah, but that's just our core thing about this film. It actually has a theme to it as well. So all right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so they all end up on the boat. So you've got Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya there. And, of course, at first, Sonya is just kind of looking for Kano. That's like her main thing. But Johnny Cage is trying to flirt with her. And I think this is really kind of the first time that we've seen that connection, because the games didn't really portray any kind of romantic interest at all. But when it came to this movie, obviously Johnny was very interested in Sonya. So I think that kind of carried over to the later games and to the movies themselves. So kind of interesting how that played out in terms of like inspiring the rest of the film franchise and the games. But Liu Kang, of course, there's this moment when Johnny arrives with his luggage and he thinks that Liu Kang's like wanted to help. And so Liu Kang just starts tossing his luggage in the water. Kind of remind me a little bit of Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee when he has a similar moment with a guy on there thinking that he's just like some servant. I just think that's funny. But so we do get this moment where the three of them are in the bow of the ship, and that's where Shang Tsung appears, and he starts explaining why they're there, what the tournament's about, and that, you know, he's happy that they're there because even though he thinks he's going to win. And we get introduced to our characters, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, that come in. There's this nice shot of them just walking again. Now, of course, Shang Tsung's like, these are naturally born enemies, but under my power, they are working for me. And yeah.
It's like, really? You took the two faces of Mortal Kombat. You took Scorpion and Sub-Zero, every kid's like favorite characters, and you turned into hired goons. It's like, really? Like, I'm sorry, I'm going a little rant here. Okay. Okay.
Now, unfortunately for Scorpion, I'll give you the rant here in a minute, but unfortunately for Scorpion, like they didn't really do him much justice with the CGI as opposed to Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero actually came out pretty good in terms of when dealing with like the ice power that he has, but you know, Scorpion's got that little creature that pops out, and I don't know, it just drove me nuts. Like I'm like, oh, that's the wrong way to go. Why'd you do that? But go on your rant anyway. Tell us. Go for it.
Okay, so the Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu are two rival ninja clans in ancient back then. I'm just gonna say back then. I don't remember the exact how long ago it was. I'm fighting a cold here, people. And these two warriors are fighting each other. A little bit of this, a little bit of that happens, and Scorpion dies, is brought back as a specter of the Netherrealm. Okay, and pretty much Scorpion is to kill Sub-Zero, which brings the next Sub-Zero, Kuai Liang. Okay, so that is pretty much the broad stroke of the Scorpion Sub-Zero rivalry. That is all pushed aside so they could be henchmen in this movie. We've been kind of wanting this, and they put us all on the big screen, and they turned them into hired goons. Okay, I've been kind of giving this movie credit, but fail. This is the first big fail of the movie. Paul W.S. Anderson and New Line fail. I will give all of the
surprising because Anderson has like a nice resume. He did Event Horizon. He's done Soldier, which are great films. So he's not a bad. He did Resident Evil. So he's not a bad director. But you know, obviously this was earlier in his career. So I think this was like the second movie he did. So on some level, you can say, yeah, it was a success. But then, as you said, some of the other areas, it's like really missed a mark.
Like last thing I'll say about it, the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, Fire and Ice, this entire Civil War, all that other stuff could be its own movie. They just cut it off at the knees and turn them into goons. Okay, rant over. Okay, let's I could bitch about that entire. I could bitch about that entire all night if I want to, but anyway, let's move on. Okay.
But yeah, so they get introduced to these two characters and they kind of show their skills a little bit. And then all of a sudden, lightning comes through and Raiden like pushes them away and says, and so you get this little banter. Yeah, you get this little banter between Raiden and Shang Tsung about how the rules, you can't break the rules and all this stuff. But not to get too drawn out, because I do have a video I want to watch with you talking about something. Not really sure where it's going to go, but it'd be interesting. But either way, that's when we're first introduced to Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So we end up getting to the tournament, this fortress and stuff. And so you get to get some feeding, you get to eat all the feast, and the characters are still kind of get to know each other. There's even kind of like this cool black guy who's a fighter that knows Johnny Cage, you know, as a friend. And so, and he's actually, unfortunately, the one we get to sacrifice to Goro.
Good old Art Lee.
Yeah.
And, never see him again.
Yeah. But you had to have somebody. So,
yep.
But yeah, I'm going to let you just explain the fight with Goro and Johnny Cage, because I know you wanted to talk about Goro. So go at it.
Okay. So Goro has built up this entire movie. And so Earthrealm is starting to win and get all these wins under their belt. So Shang Tsung is sick of this shit. He's like, okay, we're not going to lose this last tournament. We're 9-0. If we lose just one, Shao Kahn can't invade Earthrealm. He's going to be pissed, and he's going to blame me and all that stuff. So Goro just looks. He's like, is it time? Which he's voiced by, hold on, I don't get his name wrong, Kevin Michael Richardson, which you know him from American Dad as Principal Lewis. He was the Joker on the Batman animated series from 2004. Plus, like 70 other roles he's done in voice acting as well. He's an awesome voice actor as well. Anyway, so then we have this badass heavy metal music. We just see guys being thrown around, being slammed into soapstone and everything. You don't see Goro doing any of this. You just hear the heavy metal music, just guys just being slammed around. Next, you see Arlene in a ring. Which, okay, there aren't really rings in the Mortal Kombat games. So, okay, whatever. And he's like, oh, ha, hey, you know, just warming up. Next thing you hear is like, dun, dun, dun. Then the big doors open, and there's Goro just standing there. And he's like roaring and everything. And then we have a blend of practical effects with puppetry, with human animatronics, plus a human wearing this thing. And from what I understand, this thing was a nightmare. It would break down. It would have a lot of problems, but there was done with a radio control with on top of a guy. This thing apparently weighed 90 pounds on this dude's back. But anyway, whatever. Gets in the ring with Arlene, pretty much. I don't want to downplay the thing about it. It was a marvel of technology for the time it was. It was really cool for what it was. However, it was very troublesome at the same time as well. So Goro gets in the ring, and Art is not really doing any damage against Goro, which Goro is the sub-boss of the first Mortal Kombat game. And in that game, good luck. Goro is a cheat bastard. Unless you play the game on easy, hell, even on easy, he's still a cheat bastard because he's got a lot of huge AoE attacks that just...
You do not want to get caught by him.
Yeah, and then he just grabs you and just starts smacking you around and everything, which he does in the movie as well, which is also really fun to watch as well. And he eventually kills Art, and then Shang Tsung, your soul is mine, and then he just takes his soul and everything. So once again, we have the themes of the humans and of Earthrealm, and they want to step up and prove that their themes and what they want to do, or they want to step up to get over their problems. Johnny wants to prove he's not a fake. Sony wants to call out for help, and Liu wants to get over, his nightmares pretty much. So Johnny challenges Goro to one-on-one, and Shang's like, this is the main event. You lose, you're done. And Johnny's like, this is Mortal Kombat. I'm going to beat him. He's like, okay, well, if you do win, you still have one more fight, and I get to choose I'm going to be the last person, and I choose. So pretty much, it's just like the game where you have to fight more Shang Tsung anyway.
Yeah.
So then we have the final fight. Well, not final fight. We have the fight between Johnny and Goro, and he does a split-legged punch to the nuts. Fun stuff. And a little back and forth, and Johnny takes advantage of a ledge, knocks him over, and Goro falls to his death. You don't really have that in the games. I mean, with one little caveat, but we can say that for later in the movie. But anyway, he defeats Goro. Next, you know, Shang Tsung is claiming he wants to fight someone. However, he doesn't want to fight Johnny Cage, the winner of the Goro fight. He doesn't want to fight Liu Kang. He wants to fight Sonya. Okay, why does he want to fight Sonya? Well, you're a favorite sorcerer. Yeah, I'm doing the voices again, aren't I? So anyway, he then wants to fight, not in Earthrealm. He also gets to name the terms of where to fight as well. He wants to fight in Outworld, which again is actually a little fun thing they do. They actually create a full Outworld as well. It's a couple of lots, and they actually create an actual full Outworld as well. And that's where, should I keep going?
Yeah, good. Go on. Yeah, you're good.
All right, very cool. So Lou and Johnny, they actually start to face up to they're demons pretty much, and they go into Outworld to save Sonya and save the world. And then we get to my favorite fight of the movie, the fight where these two almost kill each other actually during the movie. You actually look up the commentary on this and actually, the choreography on this. We have Liu Kang versus Reptile. And we start playing this one techno song. And these two were actually laying it in, actually really kicking and actually really slamming into each other. And actually, Robin Shou actually, I think he broke a rib during the filming of this scene where actually they're slamming into each other. And eventually,
because I know that Bridgette Wilson, like she said, she dislocated her shoulder, so because she did all her own stunts as well. So it doesn't surprise me that some of them may have hurt themselves a little bit in this.
Well, the funny thing is that they kept on sending the movie back and saying there's not enough fight sequences in the movie. So they actually filmed this scene afterwards. Like, you need to put another scene in the movie. So they actually filmed the reptile fight sequence afterwards. And then they just went all in on this. And it's just an awesome fight sequence. And it's, as far as like the games are concerned, like it's cool as far as games are concerned, but it's like a real fight. This feels like a real fight. This feels like two guys really fighting and trying to really kick each other's ass. Eventually, Lou overcomes Reptile, and it's a fun thing because they find him in kind of like a secretive way, which is fun because Reptile is the very first secret boss of the Mortal Kombat franchise. You find him at the bottom of the pit, but they don't find him, but whatever, details. But they still find him, and it's really cool. And Raiden does say, if you're patient, you will find another guide. And Kitana, who is the secret agent who works for Earthrealm because she's always hated her stepfather, Shao Kahn, who likes to merge realms. She merged with
Sounds like the original Gamora.
Yeah. So yeah, evil stepdads. Am I right? So anyway. Eventually, they make their way to the Emperor's Palace, where Shang Tsung wants to battle Sonya. Sonya's like, nah, I know your game. It's not going to happen. That's when Liu Kang actually infiltrates with everyone else. He's like, no, we're going to fight. So we have our final battle between Liu Kang and Shang Tsung, where we have our final song, the Mortal Kombat theme while we fight Shang Tsung versus Liu Kang. It's a fun fight. And I am so glad they went with Shang Tsung's design with this because I did not want to see old man Shang Tsung fight young man Liu Kang. Fun fight. Little trickery here, a little trickery there. And we have a pit fight ending, which weirdly enough, I don't know if you noticed this, but they actually took the song from when Liu Kang finishes off Shang Tsung in this, and they put it in the Godzilla 98 trailer. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but yeah, they for some reason they did that.
Anyway, that slow ballad-like song.
Yeah, when he knocks him into the spikes, like that really dramatic music. They put that song into a trailer but anyway,
well, that song also appears in the movie Hackers, by the way, so it's kind of funny.
Hey, Mortal Kombat's changing the world, guys. Yeah, go see Mortal Kombat 95, guys. Excellent film. Anyway, so good.
So just before we get into the video, we do need to touch on our characters' fights because I think both are a bit problematic. Scorpion's a little bit better than Sub-Zero's, I think, but Scorpion ends up facing Johnny Cage before Cage faces Goro, and so we've got Johnny just kind of wandering around in the forest. He comes across Scorpion, which, they do this nice little job where Scorpion does these teleports and comes back, and then, of course, his little thing he's trying to say get over here, and it's chasing him around and all that. So again, I don't really like that thing that he's got. I don't like the design of it at all, but it is what it is. It was just what they had to work with at the time to get it to kind of work. But you got to mention how some of the like the nut punch and stuff like that, so they went with like these trademark moves by some of these characters, the bicycle kick and so on. And then in this one, when Johnny finally gets the fatality on Scorpion, he gets his little autograph, which I thought was kind of funny. But that entire fight worked for me in the theater because they were playing Fear Factory, and I was just going nuts because I'm a big metal fan, obviously. So I was enjoying the shit out of the music. I was like, telling my boys, like, dude, this is Fear Factory, man. This is fucking Fear Factory. So I'm having a ball. When it came to Sub-Zero, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be good. Him and Liu Kang. And then, of course, the way that Sub died, I'm like, what? No? What? Can we reverse this? Can we go back a little bit? Your thoughts on those two fights?
Well, Scorpion's my favorite. I'm like, you can't do Scorpion like that. Come on. But then again, I remember, he's already dead. And that entire sequence was in the Netherrealm. So it's like, okay, he's already dead. He's in hell. Okay, air quotes. So, okay, he's already there. But, like, I didn't really know the lore of Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 when I was a kid. So it's like, why are you guys killing Sub-Zero? And then Annihilation came out, and I learned the lore, like, oh, so Sub-Zero is kind of just like a code name. So pretty much anyone in his family could be. So it's like, oh, and then the whole story, then like, okay, I understood. But it was kind of a awkward kill. Use the element that brings life, and he like throws water at him, and it turns into like an icicle and stabs. And it's like, really? It's just like, okay. Also, I thought it was awkward. The place where they fought, it kind of reminded me of Shang Tsung's like throne, not really throne room, like his palace room where he like hangs out. But it's like, why is there a giant trampoline-esque, kind of like crash pad thing where they're like doing like cartwheels down? Like, what are they? What is that? It's like, I know they gotta do some kind of acrobats. I don't know. I think that the set was a little awkwardly signed. It's like it was designed a certain way for them to get from point A to point B to like have a certain way. The Scorpion fight I feel is better. I don't really care for the Liu Kang versus Sub-Zero fight. I thought that should have been done differently, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially when you're pitting like two of the more popular characters, in the movie and in the game. So just seemed kind of like unfulfilling in the end. But anyway, I have a video from this content creator called Forgotten Fist, and he has a lot of cool content. He does a lot of like behind the scenes and trivia stuff. So he has it's not an excessively long clip, but it says one lie that changed the Mortal Kombat movie. His thumbnail had Trevor Goddard playing Kano on there, so I'm not sure how that plays into this. I have not watched it, so I'm going to watch it with you. If at any time you want me to pause it so we can comment on whatever he says, we can do that. So I'm very curious what he has to say about this because it has to do with the script and everything else. So Let's get into it and see what this guy has to say.
5. A video game movie changed a character forever. Not because of the script, not because of the director, because of a lie. The actor who played Kano in Mortal Kombat told Hollywood he was Australian. He was not Australian. He was from Croydon, and his fake accent was so convincing that the game's creators rewrote their own character to match it. That decision echoes through every Mortal Kombat game, every sequel, every reboot, right up to today. The man behind it all was Trevor Goddard, and his story is one of the strangest, most tragic double lives Hollywood has ever seen. Trevor Joseph Goddard was born on October 14th, 1962, in Surrey, England. His father, Eric, was a detective chief inspector with the Metropolitan Police. His mother, Clara, raised the family in Bromley, Kent. It was a law-abiding, middle-class household, no criminal record, no brushes with the law, no rough upbringing. That matters, because almost everything Trevor later told Hollywood about his past was invented from scratch. He did attend Ravensbourne School for Boys on Hayes Lane in Bromley. The school's most famous alum.
Yeah, I wonder if because they said he kept trying to use the accent, which, it did kind of follow him, because I think even in Deep Rising, he still kind of used that accent a little bit in there. Like, I guess, he plays like villains very well, so maybe that's just something he thought he could use to his advantage, I guess, at that point.
Was Billy Idol, and that was no coincidence. Bromley in the late 70s was the beating heart of British punk. Susie Sue came from there, Polystyrene came from there, and Trevor Goddard threw himself straight into the middle of it. In 1977, he co-founded a school punk band called the Belson Horrors. He started on drums, then moved to vocals. When that band broke up, he joined another outfit called The Vamp, playing alongside members connected to X-Ray Specs. The future Kano was once a teenage punk rocker moshing in the same scene that produced some of Britain's most iconic bands. Nobody in Hollywood ever knew that. After school, Goddard channeled all that energy into boxing. He competed as a light heavyweight and claimed an amateur record of 58 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw across 60 fights. His verified professional record was far smaller, just a handful of bouts. But the physicality was real. The toughness was real, and it would become his ticket out of England. Before leaving, he worked as a landscape gardener in Bromley. Then in 1986, at age 23, he traveled to America with friends. They landed in New York. After 3 weeks, his friends went home. Trevor called his father and said he was staying. He told Eric he was in love with the country and wanted to make it there. He had no plan, no connections, no agent, just ambition and a willingness to become someone else entirely. That transformation started with a simple audition trick. Goddard initially tried Hollywood as himself, an Englishman. It did not work. He got nowhere. Then one day, a role came up that required an Australian. Trevor walked in, said he was from Perth, and got the part. His father later explained it plainly. The next time he auditioned, he said he was Australian. He was believed and got the part, and so it went on. What started as a one-time gamble became a permanent identity replacement. Trevor built an entire fake biography. He claimed he was born in Balga, a working-class suburb of Perth. He shaved 3 or 4 years off his real age, listing his birth year as 1965 or 1966 instead of 1962. He invented a troubled childhood, dropping out of school early, stealing cars, living on the streets. He told reporters he ran amok and was actually homeless for 4 years. He even invented a brother named Frank who supposedly still lived in Perth. Every press kit, every casting directory, every industry record listed his birthplace as Perth, Australia.
Man, he went all in, didn't
he? Yeah. I heard something to the effect of that. I'll also mention it when the video's over, but I heard something to the effect kind of like that, but it's kind of in the reverse, kind of. But I'll mention it after the video's over.
The lie was total. And it worked because of a linguistic accident most people never think about. Cockney English and broad Australian English share enough DNA that American ears genuinely struggle.
Is that what you were trying to say?
Exactly. Like, when he was doing his accent, like, he was, from what I understand, what he was saying, they interpreted it as Australian. And they wrote him to be Australian. So then later in the film, like, real Australians were like, that's not what Australians sound like. You can't do it like that. It's like, and then, but people were like, listen to the way how Bob Hoskins speaks. He sounds more like Bob Hoskins does. It's like, I'm just like taking the word, like, as a kid, I didn't really like know how to even be, I was just taking the word for it. And then it's like when Mortal Kombat 11 came out, when they actually added Mortal Kombat 10 came out, and they actually had an Australian voice. It's like, yeah, you can tell there's a little bit of a difference to it, like really that version of Kano versus the other version of Kano speaks, but it's like, I still like Trevor Goddard's version of Kano. I thought he did a great job. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, the guy in the new one, he's funny, but like, I don't know, there is a sense of dirty and grittiness with Goddard's version. Like when you even see him in this film where he's like eating at the table with Goro and he's just kind of like being greasy and he's like, yeah, I guess I am kind of like the prince of my own underworld.
What is that? Subterranean? You mean like underground?
Yeah, he brings like a bit of a different kind of flair to Kano, which again, I think that's why when they, have him killed off, I'm like, it kind of sucks, but.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, break? Sure, I'll give it to you.
Able to tell them apart. The flattened vowels, the glottal stops, the rising inflections. Goddard's native London accent needed only minor adjustments to pass as Australian in a Hollywood casting room. Some actual Australians were less convinced. One Australian viewer of his later TV work said they certainly did not think he was an Aussie because that accent was awful and definitely not authentic. But in a pre-internet industry where nobody checked passports, the performance held. His own publicist believed every word, his lawyer believed every word, even the Australian-born wife of a major TV producer was fooled. Goddard reportedly beat out lines of genuine Australian actors.
I didn't know he was in Pirates.
Yeah, me either. I just not realized.
Shit, son.
He got around.
I mean, to be fair, that was a blink and you miss it kind of performance. Yeah, he wasn't in the movie for very long, but okay.
Right. Yeah, and that's again, he has a way of playing some pretty cool villains and stuff. But it is, I think that's always interesting too, because I don't remember the actor's name, but he's the guy that plays Vince in the Fast and Furious, like Dominic's good friend.
Yeah.
When you see that actor, you recognize him immediately. He just kind of stands out whenever he's in a role. You're like, oh yeah, I recognize that guy. And that's how Trevor was. Trevor's like, he may not be like the main lead or anything, but when you see him, you just remember him. He just stands out. So I don't know if it's like his own type of like screen presence or whatever, but he makes his characters memorable for whatever reason.
For roles, including one occasion where he voiced a kangaroo in a film, edging out actual Australians to play the most Australian animal on Earth. His father noted that Trevor left telltale clues everywhere, but nobody picked up on them. The biggest one involved cricket. Eric said that anybody with Trevor when England played Australia would have been left in no doubt where he was really from. His young sons were also spotted around Los Angeles wearing England soccer shirts. Nobody connected the dots. The deception ran for over a decade without a single crack. Goddard's early career was a grind through the usual Hollywood trenches. He was reportedly discovered during a boxing match and offered work in television beer commercials. His first credited role came in 1989 with a guest spot on Tour of Duty. Through the early 90s, he cycled through episodic television, Baywatch, Murphy Brown, Days of Our Lives, Silk Stockings, Renegade. He also earned serious theater credibility, winning the Los Angeles Drama Log and LA Weekly Best Performance Award for a stage production at the Fountainhead Theater. The talent was real. The identity was not. His breakout came in 1994 with Men of War, an action film opposite Dolph Lundgren. He played the villain Kiefer, and one cult film blog captured his impact perfectly. Within a minute of appearing on screen, he managed to steal the movie. In under 60 seconds, he constructed the most repulsive bad guy, and yet did so with a disarming amount of charm. That film also co-starred Catherine Bell, who would later become his colleague on television and a real-life friend. From that point forward, Goddard was typecast. Charismatic, slightly unhinged, always the villain, always stealing scenes from the lead. Then came the role that made him immortal. In 1995, Paul W.S. Anderson cast Goddard as Kano in the Mortal Kombat film. The original plan was for Goddard to play Johnny Cage, but someone saw the menace in him and redirected him to Kano instead. He underwent 2 months of intensive martial arts training under fight choreographer Pat Johnson. His boxing background gave his combat scenes a raw physicality that trained martial artists sometimes lack. The character's cybernetic eye required a prosthetic glued to his face. Anderson encouraged improvisation, and many of Kano's most memorable lines appear to have been Goddard's own invention. He delivered them in that unmistakable growl, Cockney vowels filtered through a fake Australian persona, landing somewhere that sounded dangerous and funny at the same time.
Oh, are you gonna say something?
Oh no!
Okay.
Just the talking. Yeah.
Time. One reviewer described the result as a cross between Colin Farrell and Craig Fairbrass, with a brick wall frame generating a deep rasping accent. Despite having limited screen time, Goddard's Kano became the film's most memorable human performance. Once his character was killed off, the movie noticeably lost energy. And here is the detail that makes the whole thing extraordinary. The character of Kano in the original 1992 arcade game was Japanese-American, an orphan discovered by the Black Dragon crime syndicate. He wore a white jiggy, he had a bald head and an American accent. He was so unpopular with players that he was cut from Mortal Kombat 2 entirely. Goddard's film performance reinvented the character from the ground up, and the game's creators took notice. That notice would reshape the franchise permanently, but first, Goddard landed what became his longest and most prominent role. In 1998, he was cast as Lieutenant Commander Mick Brumby on the CBS military legal drama JAG. The character was an Australian Navy officer on exchange at JAG headquarters. He became the romantic rival to David James Elliott's Harm for Catherine Bell's Mac. The love triangle drove major storylines across 3 seasons and 42 episodes. Fans were divided but passionate. Some loved Brumby, some wanted him gone, but nobody doubted Goddard's screen presence. The role produced one of the story's finest ironies. The 100th episode was filmed on a location in Sydney in 2000. Goddard gave a lengthy interview to an Australian magazine, entirely in character as a Perth native, calling Sydney home. He was living the lie on Australian soil, surrounded by actual Australians, and none of them caught on. When his character was finally written out in 2001, the script required Goddard to put on an English...
This guy like invented catfishing before it became a real thing.
English accent for a scene. His father's observation was devastating in its simplicity. It was the only time he spoke as himself. Beyond JAG, Goddard accumulated roughly 40 credits across action films and television. He appeared in Deep Rising alongside Treat Williams and Famke Janssen. He guest starred on The X-Files. He did a Babylon 5 episode. He had an uncredited role in Gone in 60 Seconds. His only leading role was a low-budget production called Hollywood Vampire in 2002, which produced one of the best anecdotes of his career. The tough guy boxer and action star fainted at the sight of fake blood gushing from a fellow actor's arm during filming. TV Guide picked up the story. His final film was Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, where he played the minor pirate Grapple. The film was released approximately 1 month after his death. Johnny Depp and director Gore Verbinski paid tribute to him during the DVD commentary. On the Pirates set, Goddard suffered an ankle injury and torn ligaments. He was prescribed painkillers. Those prescriptions may have accelerated something that was already spiraling. Goddard married Ruth Ann McCarthy, an American aerobics instructor, in 1991. They had 2 sons, Travis, born around 1996, and Daniel, born around 1999. By 2003, the marriage had collapsed. They were separated, divorcing, and locked in a custody battle. Goddard was living in North Hollywood in a home he had inherited after caring for a terminally ill neighbor. He was in an on and off relationship with a girlfriend who tried to distance herself from him because of his drug use and his refusal to get help. His substance abuse was not widely known. His agent later denied knowledge of any addiction, pointing to injuries from boxing and filming as the reason for prescription drug use. But the reality was more severe. Heroin, cocaine, prescription painkillers, Valium. The combination was building towards something no one could stop. June 6, 2003 was his father Eric's birthday. At midday California time, Trevor called and sang happy birthday over the phone. Eric later said his son was as happy as could be. Trevor told him they had years together yet. They did not even have 24 hours. That evening, Saturday, June 7th, Goddard had a phone conversation with a friend. Investigators later estimated he passed away sometime after 9 p.m. His girlfriend found him the following day around noon. He was 40 years old, though every obituary that ran in the following days listed his age as 37 or 38, based on the fake birth year he had maintained his entire career. Even in death, the deception held. The initial coroner's classification pointed toward intentional self-harm. Notes addressed to family members were found at the home. The context of the divorce and custody battle seemed to support that theory. But on August 5th, 2003, the coroner's office reversed the ruling. The official cause of death was accidental multiple drug intoxication. The toxicology report identified 4 substances: heroin, cocaine, diazepam, and hydrocodone. No evidence of intentional self-harm was found. His agent had maintained throughout that Goddard was hopeful about resolving the custody situation and had been in good spirits. The memorial was held on June 16, 2003, at the Hollywood YMC. It was open to the public. Over 400 friends and colleagues from the entertainment industry attended what was billed as a celebration of his life. And then his father walked to the front of the room and dropped the truth. Eric Goddard, 71 years old, a retired Scotland Yard detective, told the crowd that his son had convinced everyone he was Australian, including the Australians. He said Perth became Trevor's second birthplace. He explained that when an Australian was required for JAG, Trevor simply became one. The room responded with audible gasps. 400 people, many of whom had known Goddard for years, shared meals with him, worked alongside him, were learning for the first time that their friend was from Croydon. His publicist was stunned. His lawyer was stunned. Days later, they were reportedly still processing it. Eric and Clara Goddard had a specific reason for going public. Their son's fabricated backstory included car theft, juvenile delinquency, and homelessness. None of it was true, and they did not want their grandsons, Travis and Daniel, 7 and 4 years old, to carry a false legacy. The Australian Sunday Times ran the story on its front page on July 13th, 2003. The headline read, "The actor who fooled Hollywood." It became the definitive account.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, so that's really the greatest trick that he could ever play, was just convincing real people that he was Australian. Mm-hmm. So regardless of his movie roles and stuff, you know, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The deception, JAG honored Goddard in the season 9 premiere that September. The episode ended with a dedication card reading in loving memory of Trevor Goddard, followed by archival footage of the cast singing Waltzing Matilda as his character Mike Brumby walked away toward Australia. Fans called it one of the most moving things they had ever seen on television. The tribute card listed his birth year as 1969. Still wrong, still using the fake information. The deception outlived the man. Meanwhile, his impact on Mortal Kombat continued to grow long after he was gone. The transformation was gradual but relentless. In 1996, the animated series Defenders of the Realm gave Kano an Australian accent for the first time. In 2000, Mortal Kombat Special Forces gave him Goddard's full head of hair instead of the original bald look. In 2002, Deadly Alliance incorporated Australian mannerisms. By 2008, Kano's nationality was formally retconned to Australian in the official canon. The 2011 reboot completed the redesign with a full Goddard-inspired look, and by Mortal Kombat 11 in 2019, Kano had become what one major gaming outlet called the best and most authentic Australian character in any video game ever. The character drinks beer in intro animations, he uses extensive Aussie slang, he has a fatality that involves sculling a beer and glassing his opponent. All of it traces directly back to a landscape gardener from Bromley who walked into a Hollywood audition pretending to be from Perth. When the franchise was rebooted as a film in 2021, the production cast Josh Lawson, an actual Australian, as Kano. Lawson was open about the debt he owed. He called Goddard's performance legendary. He acknowledged that Kano started off as something else entirely, but through what he called a glitch in the Matrix, the character became Australian. And that glitch led directly to Lawson getting the role. A cancelled game reboot had briefly considered reverting Kano to his original Japanese-American identity, but the project was scrapped. The Australian Kano endured. It always endures. The layers of irony in this story are almost too perfect. A character originally conceived as Japanese-American was transformed into an Australian icon by an Englishman who was pretending to be Australian. Nobody involved at any stage of the process knew the full truth, and the result became permanent. Every game, every film, every piece of franchise media for 3 decades, and counting. One Cockney accent, misheard as Australian, echoing through a billion-dollar property forever. That is the legacy of Trevor Goddard, a punk rocker from Bromley, a boxer who fainted at fake blood, a father who sang happy birthday 24 hours before the end, a man so committed to his reinvention that 400 people gasped when they learned who he really was. Hollywood did not just overlook Trevor Goddard, Hollywood never even met the real one.
That's cool. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I mean, I know it's not so much about Mortal Kombat itself, but the man himself is very interesting.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had such an influence on the game and the movies going forward. So it's like, as they said, you know, they wanted to try to change him back to his original incarnation, but they're like, no, he's just too strong now. He can't stop him. Even in death, he can't stop him.
No, that would have been a boring idea, because the idea of Mortal Kombat has all of these characters from all over the world fighting in Earthrealm to protect Earthrealm, to just have all these characters all just being the same. It's like, no, I like the idea that everyone's all from all over doing all these all over things. It's like, I like the Australian. Keep the Australian. Yeah, don't change it.
Obviously, even like Street Fighter and Tekken, they always have like various cultures fighting in these tournaments. So, and again, that kind of like goes back to Bloodsport and how they were operating then too. So, so let's wrap it up and give me your final thoughts of Mortal Kombat 1995, as well as your rating 1 out of 10 for this film.
Awesome film. Has a couple of hiccups, but very entertaining. 1 to 10, I would give this film an 8.
Yeah, so I agree. This film, as much there's like, even 2021 has its issues with me, because I would rather stayed Sub-Zero Scorpion plot line in that one. So it has its own failings, but it has more, fatalities and stuff. But looking back at this film, like it's almost how I look at like Batman 1989 and Christopher Nolan's, The Dark Knight. So the different Jokers. And so you have Nicholson, who's a fantastic actor. He's playing the Joker one way. And then you have Heath Ledger playing the Joker, a much darker version. So that's how I kind of see 2021 and 95. It's like two different things, but they are both good for different reasons. And so 95 is good because it's kind of staying similar to the video game in terms of the fun and playfulness. But then 2021 gives you all that other extra stuff that you like about the fatalities and all that. It doesn't get too corny. It stays within this like very dark, heavy fighting and plot design, whereas this one just has fun. Like you got the nice little one-liners, and again, Trevor doing Kano, which is very interesting just from the standpoint of Kano himself. I'm glad that the guy mentioned how once Kano dies, even though the movie doesn't really fall off the map, it does start missing something. And I think when you have Sonya chasing Kano like that, because she's so determined to track him down, that's almost one of those fights that you probably should have left more towards the end rather than near the beginning. And so I think they did kind of fail in that in terms of like killing off Kano just a little too fast, if that's the way they were going to go, But as far as my rating for this, I'm probably right there with you. I think this is like a 8 out of 10. It's still fun. I can still watch this. Again, Annihilation, I won't talk. I'll never do a review for that.
No.
Yeah, there's just not much to be said with that one. But again, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it as always. As I told people at the beginning, Gojira and I will be doing a review for Devil May Cry Season 2 soon. I'm really looking forward to that. But do you have anything you've got coming up at all that you're going to be doing on your channel? Any gaming or new figurine unboxings or anything?
Oh, nothing.
Just cruising, huh? Just cruising.
Yeah, just cruising, just helping other people out with their stuff. I'm just,
Yeah, see, now that I know that he's got so much free time, I'm just going to keep drawing him in for videos.
Yeah. I'm free to help out everybody else. So, yeah.
But yeah, thanks again, sir. I appreciate it as always. And I've got more Lone Wolves on the way. Just have to figure out what I'm going to talk about a little bit with those films and rewatch them. But be looking on those on the horizon. But for all those watching, please give us your comments. Let us know your thoughts on Mortal Kombat 1995. How do you feel about that, the franchise, and everything involved with Mortal Kombat? And you might tell us we're wrong about things, but we're not going to care. We have our own opinions, but doesn't matter. But hit like and subscribe, and please go to Gojira851's YouTube channel. He does have some cool stuff over there, his unboxings, his knowledge on Kaiju, Godzilla, as well as some of the gaming that he does over there. So go check that out, and we'll see you next time on the Mortal Kombat podcast, now the Middle Town Radio podcast. We are Mortal Kombat here, so take care of yourselves and see you later.